very happy new year 2022 to everyone. Both 2020 and 2021 were challenging years in view of COVID-19. And even though there is again a surge of COVID-19 cases in the form of Omicron variant, I wish all of you a healthy and prosperous new year. Now, from the perspective of new drug approvals, 2021, despite the COVID-19 challenge, was a relatively good year because 50 new drugs were approved by US FDA. And this was the third highest number as far as the annual approval of new drugs is concerned in the last 10 years. In 2018, 59 new drugs were approved, while in 2020, 53 new drugs were approved. Overall, during the last 10 years, the US FDA has been approving, on an average, 43 new drugs every year. Now, as far as the 2021 approvals are concerned, of the 50 new drugs which have been approved, 14 were biologics. That means they have been approved via the biologic license application. Of the 14 biologics, 9 of them are monoclonal antibodies. So today, I will be talking about some of these monoclonal antibodies as to how these monoclonal antibodies are going to meet the unmet medical needs and how they are going to benefit the challenges pertaining to the treatment of the diseases for which these monoclonal antibodies have been approved. The first monoclonal antibody, which I am going to talk about today, is Chalocinumab. Chalocinumab was approved by European Medicines Agency in June 2021 and later by US FDA in December 2021. Chalocinumab is indicated for the treatment of moderate to severe atopic dermatitis in patients who are candidates for systemic therapy. Chalocinumab acts against IL-13. It prevents the binding of IL-13 to IL-13 receptor alpha-1 as well as IL-13 receptor alpha-2. Now, as far as Chalocinumab is concerned, this is not the first monoclonal antibody to be approved in atopic dermatitis. Prior to Chalocinumab, which got approved in 2021, the first monoclonal antibody for atopic dermatitis was actually approved in 2017. This is a drug called Dupilumab. Dupilumab acts against both IL-4 as well as IL-13. And unlike Chalocinumab, which is currently approved only for the adults, though it has also completed the clinical studies for the adolescent population with favorable results, Dupilumab has been approved for adults as well as adolescents greater than 12 years of age. Apart from Dupilumab, which is also a monoclonal antibody, there are other drugs which are also approved by US FDA earlier for the treatment of atopic dermatitis, and Chalocinumab will have to compete with those drugs. These include Baricitinib, which is a Janus kinase inhibitor, and apart from this Baricitinib, which is also a systemic therapy, 2 topical therapies have also been approved by US FDA earlier. These include Crisaborole, which is a topical ointment, which is a PDE4 inhibitor, and Tacrolimus, which is a calcineurin inhibitor and is also a topical ointment. The second monoclonal antibody which I'm going to talk about today is Arukanoumab. Arukanoumab has been approved by US FDA for the treatment of Alzheimer's disease. Arukanoumab approval is based on an accelerated approval. The final approval will be granted only when the benefit is shown in the confirmatory clinical trials. The approval is based on the reduction in the amyloid beta protein, and it is believed that amyloid beta plaques play an important role in the pathophysiology of Alzheimer's disease, apart from the hyperphosphorylated neurofibrillary tangles, which are formed from the tau proteins. And it is believed that by acting on the beta amyloid plaques, which include the oligomers, which are soluble, as well as the fibrils, which are insoluble, this Arukanoumab will prevent the progression of Alzheimer's disease. Currently, the treatment options which are approved by the FDA for Alzheimer's disease include acetylcholinesterase inhibitors. These include rivastigmine, galantamine, donepezil, and also NMDA receptor antagonist, which is memantine. However, these drugs provide only symptomatic benefit, and the benefit is transitory. Patients frequently require antipsychotics, and therefore, there is no disease-modifying drug which is available. And based on the mechanism of action of Arukanoumab, it appears that Arukanoumab, in case the benefit is actually confirmed in the confirmatory clinical trials, may help in preventing the progression of this disease. Therefore, it appears to be a promising drug, provided, as I said, the benefit is demonstrated in the confirmatory clinical trials. The third monoclonal antibody, which I'm going to talk about today, is StarlyMap. StarlyMap is a monoclonal antibody directed against PD-1. It prevents the binding of PD-1 to PD-L1 and PD-L2, and it is indicated for treatment of advanced and recurrent endometrial cancer of a specific type, which is diagnosed with the help of a companion diagnostic. This is DMMR type of endometrial cancer, which is basically mismatch repair deficient endometrial cancer. Around 25% of the cases of endometrial cancer at the time of diagnosis are advanced. That means they are FIGO stage 3 or FIGO stage 4. And in these cases, treatment is surgical in the form of total abdominal hysterectomy or bilateral salpingo-oophorectomy, and chemotherapy is also required. And the chemotherapy consists of carboplatin along with paclitaxel. And when the chemotherapy doesn't work, or after prior chemotherapy, StarlyMap has been shown to provide incremental benefit. The objective response rate with StarlyMap is around 42%. Apart from StarlyMap, another monoclonal antibody already has been approved in this indication, which is pembrolizumab. Both StarlyMap and pembrolizumab have an accelerated approval, which means that the regular approval has not yet been granted. The accelerated approval is based on the objective response rate and the duration of response, and the regular approval will be based on confirmatory benefit in the phase 3 clinical studies, and StarlyMap with an incremental objective response rate, which is around 42%, is somewhat higher than what has been shown for pembrolizumab, which is around 36%. Moreover, the data for StarlyMap is available for 71 patients, while for pembrolizumab, at the time of approval, the data was available only for 14 patients. Therefore, in the endometrial cancer, recurrent and advanced mismatch repair deficient, StarlyMap has been granted approval in April 2021 by both US FDA and EMA. So obviously, in a single video, it is not possible to cover all the 9 monoclonal antibodies which have been approved by the US FDA in 2021. I will continue in my next video about the remaining 6 monoclonal antibodies regarding the indications in which they have been approved and the unmet need they are likely to address. And I'm hopeful that 2022 will even be a more positive year for the FDA new drug approvals and the approval of novel biologics as well as the monoclonal antibodies.